Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sharon Noble, Director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. Welcome to the show, Sharon.
Thank you very much, Jim.
You were telling me about a very important case that isn't directly related to smart meters, or maybe it is, about a BC man holding a hunger strike on the grounds of the BC legislature. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, it's indirectly related to smart meters and other wireless devices because he was injured by radiation. A number of years ago, he worked for the BC government and he was doing water measurements. And this is before people were really aware of the danger of being too close to transmitters. And he had his face burned by what he called a precursor to the laser. It was an electrical distance measuring transmitter. And he says immediately after he got too close to it, his face turned red. He began feeling sick and nauseous. He developed terrible headaches, had all sorts of problems. And over the years, his health continued to suffer. And sometime later, he developed an acoustic neuroma, which is a brain tumor, a non-cancerous brain tumor. And it was operated on in 2002. And at the time, it was the largest, or one of the largest, ever removed in Canada. Norm Ryder is his name. It is now, he has impaired vision in one eye. One side of his face is basically paralyzed. He hasn't been able to work. He has, lost just about everything that he ever worked for. And he's been fighting through WorkSafe BC to get his disability recognized as being associated with work. And everyone there has given him the royal runaround. They have lost materials. They have lied. They have mistreated him terribly. They refuse to meet with him. They have done just about everything, and apparently this is not unusual. Norm says that there are many injured workers who've been bullied and who've ended up dropping claims just out of pure frustration. Well, Norm isn't like that. Norm has been doing his research over the last few years, and he's discovered the dangers of radiation. He is now so extremely sensitive that being near a Wi-Fi, being near a cell phone, anything like that, just causes him great pain and harm. He's undergone surgeries, more than one, and he's just sick and tired of being treated the way he's being treated. And he holds people at WorkSafe guilty. He's charging them with failing to do their job, and he's charging Perry Kendall with failing to step up and do his job by warning people. There are people out there, workers, like painters, roofers, and whatever, who are every day coming in close contact with cell transmitters and other transmitters that are on top of buildings. Workers at McDonald's are being exposed to Wi-Fi mode transmitters in the McDonald's signs. People at Starbucks have transmitters right above their heads. Things like this that people don't know about. The government doesn't require any signs. Neither do they require that people be told that those transmitters are functioning at full power before they go up on the roof or come in close contact. So Norm is fighting on behalf of many people, and he is standing outside the BC legislature and has since Monday morning. He is refusing food, and he is refusing drink. He is willing to go to the nth degree to bring this to everyone's attention and to try to get WorkSafe BC to do their job and to treat injured workers the way they're supposed to be treated.
I've been on large ships, warships, and cruise ships where they actually have signs that say, warning, radiation danger near the radar transmitters.
They should be putting these sort of signs everywhere. They've now got, TELUS is putting what they call small cell transmitters on poles right outside homes. We know that Hydro is putting collectors transmitters right outside homes. These things are in close contact with people, but more things that Norm is concerned about, additional, he's just as concerned about those, but additional things are the fact that workers are coming in contact with this. Someone who's going on top of a roof of an apartment building where there are maybe 4 or 5 cell transmitters may have no idea they're there. He may not be told because some of them have been disguised so that, they aren't quite as ugly as they normally were, or they might have some sort of, like plants or something around them. The workers are not aware that they're there, and they could be devastated. They could be so badly hurt that they would suffer the rest of their life. These are cancer-causing devices. They cause all sorts of health problems. And I hope that if anyone is out there who has suffered the type of treatment that Norm has, that they will join him down there at the legislature. He shouldn't be standing there by himself. He should have other injured people down there with him.
Well, how many years has he been fighting the the former Workers' Compensation Board?
At least 10 years, maybe longer.
You hear of so many cases of people who feel that they haven't been treated right, and of course, WorkSafe BC will just say they're malingerers. They're just trying to make a false claim.
Well, these people are not doing their jobs, and I don't know if, there's a legal process to sue the individuals for refusing to do their jobs, but something has to be done. It is totally unfair. People are paying their premiums. They're trying to work. These are not malingerers. These are people who are fighting to exist. And the small little pittance of income that's given to people who are, unable to work, it's very difficult to live. And whatever apartment you can get, whatever, everything is just so expensive these days, and the amount of money that they get is just a pittance. And when you've lost everything because you were doing your job, it was the BC government's fault that Norm was burned and injured. Wasn't anything else. Now, granted, at the time, they didn't know as much about radiation as they do now. That's no excuse. He was still injured on the job. This should not have happened.
We'll have more with Sharon Noble right after the break.
Bird Dog, the ultimate tribute to the Everly Brothers and Simon & Garfunkel. Coming to Mission, White Rock, West Vancouver. Buy online and save at ontourtickets.com.
In Goddard we trust.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sharon Noble, Director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. You had more on BC Hydro's tariffs.
Yes. The normal process, when Hydro wants to do anything, when they want to change anything substantially, is to file an application with the BC Utilities Commission. Now, we all know the smart meter program was exempted, but other programs have not been except for Site C. And last year, Hydro submitted an application for a rate restructuring. And instead of doing what they're supposed to do, they're supposed to put notification out there so that everyone in the public knows about any application, so that you have time to read the application and to make comments if you wish. I learned by accident by seeing a little tiny notice in the Victoria Times Colonist, and it was about a week before the end of the period for comments. It was a document that was several hundred pages long in very complex technical terms. I read it, scanned through it very quickly, and I submitted a letter of concern asking to be an intervener because I believed that somewhere along the line, even though I haven't seen it, that there would be something in here that applied to the smart meter program. I was told, the BC Utilities Commission got back and said there was nothing in this application that referred or applied to the smart meter program. And did I want to continue to be an intervener? And I said no. If there wasn't anything in there for the smart meter, no, I wasn't interested. But I would have a letter of comment so that I would like to register as an interested person so they'd keep sending me information so I could just kind of glance at it as I had time. Well, in December, another document came. It was something like 700 pages long. And I was just skimming through it. I didn't have time to read it. But all of a sudden I realized that the tariff, which is our contract with Hydro, it outlines the terms that we must follow, and it regulates what Hydro can do to us as electrical customers. That there was a major rewrite of the tariff. it wasn't just changing the tariff for the rates that were being restructured. They were asking for things that had absolutely nothing to do with the rate restructuring. And so I wrote to the BCUC and I said, I want to be an intervener. I want to look at this. And BCUC wrote back and said, no, you were not an intervener. You had said you didn't want to be. And I said, but look, right here, it's saying one of the things that they're doing is that they want to increase the rates for those people who refuse to allow their smart meter to be removed and, as a consequence, have their electricity cut. The previous charge to have your power turned back on was something like, I think it was under $100. BC Hydro wanted to increase it to $700 for those people who had refused access, which is primarily people who are fighting the smart meter. Everyone else would be charged between $30 and $70. And I wrote back and said, this is unfair, it's punitive, and I want to be an intervener. And I had many people in the coalition support my application, and the BCUC granted me intervener status so that I could make comments. In looking through the tariff, I found that there were so many things that they were changing. Hydro is trying to put through a complete rewrite of this tariff under the guise of the rate structure application. And this is illegal. BC Hydro is supposed to submit under a separate application if they want major changes to that tariff. And some of the changes that they're asking for are really quite astounding. One of them, for instance, is saying that for the smart meter, a smart meter is a device, this is a definition, that receives and transmits data. True. But they say a smart meter with the transmitter off is a meter that cannot send data. It doesn't say it can't receive data. So they're trying to play games. Another thing is that they are changing definitions about, let me see, just going through here for instance. They're changing how demand is defined. They've added a definition that seems to imply that they are going to be charging time of use billing. This is brand new. This has never been in any tariff, and in fact, when asked, BC Hydro has said, we have no plans for doing that. It doesn't say they won't, but it says that they have no plans to. And another thing that is extremely concerning to me is under the old tariff, it says very clearly that Hydro serves I'm quoting this, Hydro serves customers solely in accordance with the electric tariff, including terms and conditions and rate schedules. They want this removed, not replaced with something else. They want this removed. They want it to say that BC Hydro is not under any control. There are no limitations to what they can do. We will be completely and utterly at the mercy of BC Hydro, and there would be absolutely no control under the tariff. And
does that surprise you or shock you?
Yes. What shocks me even more is that the BCUC was allowing this to go through, and still is, as far as I know. I haven't received a response to my complaint that I sent in. And another thing that people need to know about, and this is shocking, this has been in the tariff for years. They're making it even worse. But in the tariff, it says Hydro may, without liability of any kind, refuse to provide service to any person and may disconnect your power without notice. If something happens, it's not their fault. If they turn the meter off, the power off, for someone with a medical device, there's absolutely no ramifications. Someone could die, and it's not their fault. And this goes along with a statement that has been in the tariff for a long time.
So so BC Hydro wants to be superior to the Criminal Code of Canada, to the Charter of Human Rights, to a number of pieces of legislation. It wants to be above the law.
Exactly. And here's a reference that has been in there for years, and I'm demanding, if they're going to review the entire tariff, I want this portion changed. Under 9.5, if anyone goes in and does a search of the BC electric tariff, look under 9.5. It says liability of BC Hydro. this is a quote, BC Hydro will endeavor to provide a regular, uninterrupted supply of electricity, but it does not guarantee a constant supply of electricity or maintenance of unvaried frequency or voltage, and will not be responsible or liable for any loss, injury, damage, or expense caused by or resulting from any interruption, termination, or failure or defect, whether caused by the negligence of BC Hydro or its servants, even if it's willful misconduct. Have you ever heard of anything like that before?
It kind of sounds like what Gordon Campbell did to the City of Vancouver Charter, where you can't sue them for their negligence. If you had a city engineer saying, yeah, the roof on your condo is perfectly good, and then it leaked, you couldn't sue the city. Any other municipality in BC can be sued if they give you bad advice, but not Vancouver. But, I mean, Vancouver...
Even willful misconduct?
Well, like I said, willful misconduct now, that goes into the realm of criminal law.
It does. And this has been in the tariff for a long time. And I've written them about it. I would like to know why it's in there. And I've never received an answer. So now what I'm saying is I have made a submission as an intervener, and I'm saying this review should not be allowed. This review should have to come as a separate application before BC Utilities Commission so that the public is fully aware of it and is given a chance to review this tariff in depth and participate. And I'm saying that these particular sections that I've pointed out do not belong in a rate review. They belong in a general review. And I hope, and I'm asking people of the coalition, and I hope other people will too, write to the BC Utilities Commission and demand that this tariff review be done legally, according to the rules, and as a separate application, because there are many things in here that people need to know about. This was after a quick review, because the tariff has a lot of information in it. And I only found out about it very, very short, and had to do a very quick review of it. So there's more in there. I haven't found them all. But I think that people should be outraged at what Hydro is being allowed to try to do. Well, see, this tariff is completely unilateral. It says what we must do. We must pay our fees, we must allow access, etc., etc. If we are going to have power, we have to accept the terms of this tariff if we want electricity from Hydro, which is a monopoly. We have no choice. BC Hydro is allowed to write this, and we don't have an opportunity for input except during a review process. So we have to make darn sure that we know what's in this tariff and that we agree with it. It's been in there for years. I mean, it's always been the agreement. We always had to live under the tariff. And many times over the last 3 or 4 years, during the smart meter harassment period, I've told people, things were happening to them, or Hydro was threatening them in certain ways. And I said, go back and ask Hydro to show you where it is in the tariff. If it's not in the tariff, they can't do it. And they've had to back off. Hydro has had to back off. So this is a very important document for people. And we've got to make sure that everyone understands it, and we make it as pro-customer as we possibly can.
Well, when it says exempt even from willful misconduct, if you had a dispute with a Hydro employee and they invented a machine to zap your house continually with lightning bolts, they would be held unaccountable for it.
Yeah, or what if they deliberately
surge power through your house
and did something that caused your house to burn down? What if they did something as they were installing the meter? Either through, incompetence is one thing, and we've seen that. Corex, for instance, was not properly trained and caused a lot of damages, caused fires, and Hydro's walked away from many of those, saying it's not their problem. But what if someone deliberately goes and messes with your meter and causes your house to burn down?
Or they just put up the amperage into your house.
Yep. And they can do that with the smart meter. They can change things remotely with the smart meter.
They could turn on or turn off all of the electrical devices in your house.
Yep.
Spoil all the food in your freezer.
Yep. Turn off your system that, alerts the power or the your security company. If someone's breaking into your home, they can turn that off. There's a lot of things they can do.
Turn off your iron lung.
And the fact that they say that they can turn it off without notifying you, and they're not guilty of any ramifications, this is not a democracy anymore. When things like this are allowed to happen, this is a government agency run amok, and we've got to pull it back in.
People are making fun of Donald Trump for being Hitler-like. These sound like Hitler-like regulations.
I don't know about Hitler, but man, it's something I don't want to participate in. This province, as run by these liberals, is unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's completely rogue and out of control, and that's the way they want it. Mr. Bennett I'm convinced, is behind this. He knows what's going on. He's in charge of Hydro. Why is he not being held liable for this?
Anything else that we should know about the smart meter situation, Sharon, right now?
Well, Hydro is pushing people to saying that they have to have their analogs removed, ones that have expired this year. They're telling people they have no more analogs available. And as they have been over the last 3 or 4 years, they're telling people a lot of things that are not true. They're saying that analogs are no longer being made, that they're no longer available. The only reason they're not available is because Hydro's been destroying them. From the very beginning, Hydro destroyed analogs, brand new analogs, some of which had never been on a house. They destroyed them so that when they were going through this, they could tell people they didn't have a choice. There are people who are still getting analogs put on because installers are finding them, and they are helping people. But I don't know how long this is going to continue. But people need to know that the meters don't expire until the end of the year, December 31st of any expiry year. If Hydro is bullying you and harassing you and threatening to turn off your power, which they are, tell them that you want to have your analog until the December 31st, which is according to the Meter Choice program when it expires. Also ask Hydro, can you go off and buy an analog in the States or any place that Hydro says you can go? Pick a supplier. You will have it certified. You will pay for it to be certified by Measurements Canada and installed by BC Hydro. How could they object to this? They are objecting to it, saying that they want to have a smart meter with the transmitter turned off on your home. Why is this? The smart meter with the transmitter turned off is supposed to be manually read just like an analog. It causes no more additional work for BC Hydro than the analog does. So what is Hydro's secret agenda here? Do they want to get a smart meter on every home, whether the transmitter is on or not? And once this is done, will they force everybody to turn the transmitter on? Maybe both transmitters, including the one with the Zigbee chip that goes into the home reading your appliances, further spreading radiation around your house? They have some reason for forcing everyone to take the smart meter with the transmitter turned off. These smart meters with the transmitter turned off are still fire hazards, and they still increase the dirty electricity on your home wiring. And if Hydro is pushing so hard for these, they've got a secret agenda. What is it? We deserve to know.
Well, proof that they're using smart meters to spy on you came out just on Monday when they said, we use smart meter information to tell you that the number of unoccupied homes in Vancouver is the same as it was 10 years ago. So they are using them to spy.
Oh, sure they are. They can gather a heck of a lot of information from a smart meter. But those are the ones that are working. But I suspect they can gather information from one that the transmitter is supposedly turned off from. And from the tariff, the type of wording that Hydro's trying to put in the tariff, they want to distinguish between a smart meter that receives and sends data. They want to say that a smart meter with a transmitter off cannot send. They imply that it still receives. What does this mean? Hydro, as usual, is not being honest and open with us, and we deserve to know what is going on here. There's a major push going on. One woman was told they couldn't possibly turn the transmitter on without her approval, because her transmitter off has been grandfathered to the year 2099. Does that make any sense? I don't believe so.
Is there a website people can go to find out more information about the coalition?
They sure can. They can go to www.stopsmartmetersbc.com. That's where most of the information is. And information about the health side is on www.citizensforsafetechnology.org.
Sharon, thanks again.
Thank you very much, Jim. I certainly appreciate this.
My guest has been Sharon Noble, Director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. You're listening to the Goddard Report on TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Our popular YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Comments or questions for the show can be emailed to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.